Rocky Balboa from the year 2006, the sixth installment of the Rocky franchise. And this one takes place, I'm assuming, in the year 2006, where Adrian is now deceased. Paulie is still alive somehow. Possibly the worst character in fiction. We'll get in. I say every movie Paulie sucks, and I hate Paulie because I do. And no one likes Paulie. He's an asshole. But there are people like that in families, so it's like realistic enough. So you put up with it. But Paulie's like the worst part about the Rocky movies, in my opinion. But the whole plot of this movie is Rocky Balboa is retired. He's running a restaurant called Adrian's. He meets a girl that he knew from a long time ago, but he apparently walked a girl home and tried to get her to stop smoking or something, and she remembers that now, and then he sort of becomes her father-like figure and helps her and her son with various things, gives her a job at the restaurant and stuff. So there's that whole sort of B story, but the main story is Rocky is getting back into boxing, of course, even though he's like 50-something in this movie. And he is propositions to fight the current heavyweight champion of the world. And so yeah, the main thing with this movie is it's super implausible. There's no way that this heavyweight champion of the world wouldn't just rock Rocky, and it would, like, there's no way it would be this close of a fight as they make it out to be. They do try to make it a little realistic, like they do this thing where the heavyweight champion, he like breaks his hand in the first or second round, so that makes it a little bit more believable that Rocky does okay because his hand's broken, so that makes a little bit of sense. But still, it's like, really, this guy's 50, would he really be fighting? Would he even be able to get in the ring? Apparently it takes place in 1975. No, it doesn't. Rocky Balboa? I'm gonna Google this. I don't think that's true. Well, when is Rocky Balboa set? It is? The first film is. Begins in 1975. Yeah, that's true. Right. Even though it was made in 1973. The first one, yeah. I thought you meant this one. What year is Rocky Balboa set in? But it's not. It can't be. Like, they have the computer technology stuff. But it is saying that. It is saying that it was set in 1970, but that's just not true, because the first one is. I guess they mean like Rocky Balboa, because he is Rocky Balboa. That's his name. It's confusing. Google is stupid. Yeah, Google's wrong, because the first movie is 1973, or 1975, sure, we'll say it takes place in that. And then the second one's 1979, and then the third one, they're in the 80s, and then the fourth one, they're in the 80s, and then they're in the 90s, and the fifth one. So no, this is current days, because they have like computer technology and stuff, so there's just no way this 1975. But yeah, Google's stupid. Moving on. That's all we need to say about that. Let's look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. 78% for Rocky Balboa for the critics, and 76 audience score, so generally people liked it. Critics' consensus. Implausible but entertaining and poignant. Rocky Balboa finds the champ in fighting form for the first time in years, which, yes, like, the consensus says it is absolutely implausible, but because it's a movie, because it's Rocky, you suspend your disbelief and you still enjoy the movie. At least I did. Let's go. So I explained the plot pretty well, I think, so let's just keep moving on. I know. You're thinking, oh, please, not Rocky again. I was thinking that too. And that must mean he liked it, because it was a positive review. Like its odds define hero. Rocky Balboa is the biggest surprise of the holiday season. Yeah, a lot of people didn't expect this to be good, but it was good. I can't deny. Stallone wanted this movie to restore dignity to his greatest character. He succeeds better than anyone might have expected. Nice. Let's read some bad reviews now. The old lug can't be blamed for wanting one last victory lap, but if you've got nothing to offer except benign nostalgia, just let the gloves stay off for the goalie on the glory days shelf. So I kind of get what he's saying by that, because yes, this is very much like, remember the first movie? We're going to try to take some of the things, like, you know, the theme, doing the fucking training montage. Like, little things like that I think are okay to pay respects to the original. I think the whole plot is different enough, but I get what he's saying. The film meanders along this path for a long, slow while. A primitive soap opera dressed up as a street poetry. Well, yeah, sort of, but I think it's not a bad soap opera. I think the dialogue's relatively well written. Not amazing, but it's passable and believable enough, and you know, you got the character. I was just reading my text here. Mikey G. I'm not sure if she'll be making it, but still. But what I was saying is, like, I get what they're saying. I still think the movie was good and that it works well enough. Let's read this one, though. The unfortunate effect is that of an invisible angel of death hooking Rocky's mouth with a fishing line and implacably reeling him in. Well, I don't even know what that means. We're just going to move on. They didn't like it, though. Let's read one more good review. One more good, one more bad. You will laugh, you will cry, your heart will soar, you want to ring the bell, go ahead. It ain't over till it's over, go for it. I mean, I guess that's a good review. The movie spends too much time in idle and not enough in overdrive. So they think that there's too much talking and shit, which I can kind of get. You still give it a passing rating, 2.5 out of 4. But still not great. 1973, so he probably knows Groovy Girl. Hey, thank you for remembering that. You're probably right. But yeah, 1973, I thought it was 1973, but I think it actually is 1975, so that's my bad. I think the first one is 1975. But, you know, close enough. They probably still met Groovy Girl and Rocky. Anyway, how you doing, Boopop? Thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Monday. And yeah, usually we do the stream on Wednesdays, but I've been having to switch the day. We did it on Tuesday the last 2 weeks, or last week. Now I'm doing it on Monday. I did another Google, and it's set between 05 and 06. So that makes sense for this movie. Okay, so you found more specific word, because I think the way we worded it is the problem, because Rocky Balboa is the name of the character as well as the sixth movie, so it might just be like, when was it set? When was Rocky Balboa set? It might think the first movie, but yeah, it has to be set in 2005 or 2006. It's the only thing that makes sense in the timeline of this franchise. Excuse me, but yeah, back to the Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, 78% for the critic score, 76% for the audience. Let's look at the average. So it's an average 6.5 out of 10 is what people gave it for the reviews. So that's not a bad average. And then 3.9 out of 5 average for the audience score. So really not bad all around. Not quite 4 stars, but still pretty close. 7.1 out of 10. This is pretty good. On IMDb we're on now. Now let's look at the cast. Obviously Sylvester Stallone. Antonio Tarver plays Mason the Lion Dixon, who is the heavyweight champion in this movie. Burt Young is Paulie, as always. Is he in anything else? Like, I feel like he is Paulie. That's what he's fucking known for. That's his thing. Oh, he's in Chinatown. Okay. I haven't seen that for a long time, but I believe it. And he's in something called Win-Win. But he's mainly known for Rocky. They should have one of the other Rockies, too, because it just says he's known for 3 things. They usually have 4 movies here. They should have one of the Rockies, because he's known for that whole franchise. But, yeah, that's clearly what he's known for best, is Rocky. Tony Burton is back as Duke. the trainer of Apollo Creed, who's now training Rocky. And that's the cast. But yeah, the basic plot is that Rocky has to fight the heavyweight champion of the world, and he's old now. So it's there's more of a sort of, almost more of an underdog feel than ever before because of that, because it's clearly against the odds because he's so old and this guy's young and in better shape and stuff. But like I said, they make some things realistic because he breaks his hands. So it's like, I guess that would add to Rocky Balboa being able to fight him a little better, you know? Anyways, the box office, the budget was only $24 million for this, which is lower than some of the other Rockies, I think, which is interesting. And the gross worldwide is $155 million. So all these Rocky movies have done pretty well. It's this proven successful franchise. Ooh. They should have done a Terminator versus Rocky. I don't think Rocky would be able to win that one. You could argue that Rocky 4, that's the closest thing to Terminator versus Rocky, because he's fighting Ivan Drago and he's like a souped up, juiced up Russian. He's not a robot, but he kind of talks like a robot. And there is a robot in that movie. But yeah, I get that it's not the same, but that's the closest thing we got. That would be funny. If the movie would be over so fast. Terminator would just like rip out his spine or something. It's like, oh, that's the end of the movie. So, that's the Rocky Balboa IMDb page. 7.1 out of 10. Let's read some notes. Unless Rocky becomes... Oh, that's true. You could write that in. That's the only way. If he gets, like, robot upgrades or something. Okay. Now, you've piqued my interest. I'd watch it. We are done with the bodies notes. Let's look at the Rocky Balboa notes. The Turtles are back is my first note. And this was exciting because the Turtles haven't been back since the second movie. The Rocky has pet turtles called Cuff and Link. Get it? Cuff Link. And they're in the first movie and they're in the second movie. And we know that they're still alive. Turtles live a long time. And Rocky... Sylvester Stallone did an Instagram post. He's like, hey, look at the turtles, they're still alive from Rocky, hey, and he's feeding them. So it was cool to see that the turtles still exist, even though they didn't show them in 3, 4, or 5, but they're in this movie. And yeah, it was just nice to see the turtles again. Rocky Jr. is now Robert. So Rocky's son is in this movie, obviously, and he plays Rocky Jr., but let's find out the actor's name, because he might actually be his son, because his real son played his son in the 5th one. I wonder if it's the same kid. No, it's not. It's a different kid, because his actual son played his son in the 5th one, but this is someone else that just kind of looks like him. Milo Ventimiglia. But yeah, Rocky. My note is just that Rocky Jr. doesn't go by Rocky anymore. He goes by Robert, which they do sort of say something about in the 5th one, but I don't know. It's not much of a note. It's just something I thought was noteworthy. It doesn't bother me either way, really. But moving on, you don't even have a car, but he does. Yeah, I forget. They say that about... Yeah, that's right. There's these guys they're sort of like picking on Rocky because he wouldn't buy them a drink, which is like this. It's so silly. This girl goes up to Rocky, and Rocky's talking to this woman he finds out that he's met before, and they start to become friends. But then this other woman comes up and saying, "Hey, Rocky, buy us a round, hey," and he's just like, "No," and then they like get mad at him, and then watch him leave, and they're like hassling and harassing him. And then they're like, he doesn't even have a car. And I think they mean it's he's driving it's a van or a truck. It's not a car, but it's basically still a car. Like, what he does. He does have a car. He's driving her home. So yeah, I didn't really understand that line, but I thought it was funny. My next note is, would anyone demand Rocky buy them around? Like, my point is, would this even really happen with these people going up to it? Like, it would be like if you saw Mike Tyson at a bar and you were like, Mike Tyson, you got money? Buy me a drink. It's like, fuck no. Do you want to get knocked out? Like, no. I would not do that. I would be too afraid to do that. But, I mean, I get it to a certain extent, because, yeah, you'd think they'd be well off. Rocky, they've established that he's not well off, though, because, I mean, he runs a restaurant, so maybe he's doing okay now, but he's not as wealthy as he once was, because he lost so much money because of his accountant in the 5th movie. But, yeah, I just think it's silly that anyone would go up to a celebrity and be like, hey, Jim Carrey, buy me a beer or whatever. It just seems a little silly. Yeah, I'd offer him a drink. You see, that makes more sense. That makes more sense, is to be like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Because I want to talk to you and I admire you. But they're like, these people are just like, oh yeah, Rocky, give me some of your money, basically. And it's just like, that's so fucking rude and unclassy. This was just, my next note is just, this is a funny sort of line. We find out, I forget the woman's name, but the woman he becomes friends with and becomes sort of a father figure to, she's talking about how her son is half black and that his father is from Jamaica. And Rocky says, Jamaica? Oh yeah, European. Because it's obviously not in Europe. And I just thought that was kind of funny. The little sort of lines they give Rocky to establish his quirkiness and maybe a little bit dimness, I kind of like that element of Rocky. But anyway, moving on. Next note. Yeah, screw them, chumps. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, why would you do that? Paulie still sucks, but has a point. So, he sucks in every movie, but he does say some things in this one that I agree with. Like, when he's basically telling Rocky, like, yeah, we love Adrian, but, you know, you gotta let it go. You gotta live your life at one point. So, like, some of the things he says make sense, but he's still, like, complaining and being a dick. He gets fired, and he starts, like, fucking causing a ruckus at the restaurant. And you know he loves Rocky, but he's just a fucking twat. And you don't like Paulie. I think in the 5th one, he makes the most sense, but he's never a good guy. He's one of my least favorite characters in all of fiction and cinema. Anyway, moving on. The CGI simulated fight. So this was something kind of cool, and this is one of the reasons where I was like, oh, there's no way this movie takes place in the 70s, because they use a computer-generated fight to show what might have happened if Rocky Balboa, in his prime, were to fight Dixon the Line Mason, who is the current heavyweight champion of the world in this movie. They see what they would look like in a fight, in a computer-generated fight, and that generates interest for them actually fighting, and then that leads to the actual fight. But I kind of like the CGI simulated fight. I thought that was cool, because that's something that they do. They do that sometimes. It's happened. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Rocky deciding to box is a little abrupt. Because, yeah, he seems like sort of happy doing the restaurant, and then all of a sudden he's like, I've got to fight. So it does seem like they sort of like, okay, we got to just switch into boxing gear now. There wasn't a good gradual easing into it, which I think could have been done better, but it's fine. But it was a little bit of a Rocky abrupt jump into him deciding to box. I like how they show a lot of iconic spots. Yeah, they go around. I like they show Philly. It's nice. I like how they do that. He passed the medical test, but how? So this is one of my main notes of the movie. Rocky has been beat mercilessly throughout the franchise, and in the 2nd movie they were saying he shouldn't fight again, and he's had how many fights since then, and in the 5th one they say that he should never fight again. So they said he shouldn't fight again so many times, and then they give him because there's like he has permanent brain damage and there's something wrong with his eye. He can't track things the same way that he could before. But then he gets the health exam and they say he's okay to fight. And I don't think that that's how that works. I suppose it's possible that things get better, but I think it's extremely unlikely. And I don't think that that would have happened. There's just no way he would have been approved by the Boxing Commission to get his boxing license back. It's unrealistic, but it's a movie. You suspend your disbelief a little bit, so you can get to the fun fight at the end, right? Which is what these movies are all about. No way Rocky could fight, but he does. But movie does a good job of making you think that he could. So I've already said this, but yeah. The main thing that makes this just believable enough for me, like I've already said, is the fact that the heavyweight champion of this world breaks his hand early in the fight. And so it gives Rocky a chance to get some good punches in. So it's just believable enough that Rocky is able to hold his own in this fight because he's so old. But yeah, they do a good job, but there's no way he could, if this was real, there's no way this would actually happen, but it suspends your disbelief just enough to let you watch the movie and not worry too much about it, I feel. Moving on. Robert kind of sucks, but gets better. So Robert is Rocky's son, and at first he's like, Rocky, why everyone fucking... I'm living in your shadow, and he's like mad at Rocky because he's fighting. He's like, don't fight again. People are going to make fun of me if you lose. And it's like, fucking shut up, Robert. To be fair, he gets over it, and then he starts supporting his dad. But there's a good part of it where he's just being a little whiny bitch. And it's like, fuck off. Like, Rocky has done so much for you. And you're just being an ungrateful little shit. But anyway, moving on. He does get better, so I'll give him that. He's still better than Rock. I mean, he's still not better than Rock. He's still better than Paulie as a character, in my opinion. Montage. So this is what one of the negative reviewers were kind of saying, I think, when they were talking about how it's so similar to the first one. But these are little homages. Like, they show him drinking eggs again, like in the first movie. They show him punching the meat again, like in the first movie. But these are things that you want to see. And it's in the montage. Dun, 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 dun. Like, you want to see that shit. It's Rocky back. And this was the longest gap that they've had in between Rocky movies. Because if the fifth one was 1990, this was 2006. So that's 16. That's 16 years for Rocky Balboa. And then Creed was 9 years later. So it's still... So this is the longest gap that we've had in between Rocky movies. Let's see how much we got here. But yeah, I like the drinking eggs and the punching the meat. How can you not like that? It ain't over till it's over. I like little lines like that where it's like sort of motivational. It's like, it's, you know what? It's true. It's sort of like it is what it is. It ain't over till it's over. It's simple, sort of mundane sayings, but they're fucking true, and I like those sayings. Mike Tyson as himself. I thought it was interesting that they chose to do this, because I never thought of Mike Tyson existing in this universe. Because you sort of think of Rocky as this universe is Mike Tyson, but if Mike Tyson is in this universe, wouldn't he be this world's Mike Tyson? And then in this universe, did Mike Tyson and Rocky ever fight? That would have been cool to talk about. It would have been interesting. So, yes, it's kind of cool to give Mike Tyson a cameo, but it leaves so many unanswered questions then. They should have talked about that a little more. Maybe it gets explained in the Creed movies, but I doubt it. So yeah, kind of cool, but kind of weird that they have Mike Tyson play himself in this movie for a little cameo. And we finally get to see how many times Rocky's lost. We've seen on film that he's lost once against Clubber Lang, once against Apollo Creed, and he's lost once in this movie. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying this, because I knew that about this movie even before watching it, because people would talk about it when it came out and be like, oh, this is the one where he finally loses. And of course he does, but they show in this that he's had 23 losses, they show his stats and stuff, so I thought that was cool. And you don't really get to see that ever before, but you sort of think of him having a near perfect record, but I guess it's realistic that he would have that many losses. He has way more wins than losses, so you let it slide. Good end fight, although unrealistic. Yeah, I've already said about the unrealistic stuff, so I won't go too much deeper into that. But it is a good end fight. It's suspenseful. It's fun. They make it just believable enough. And yeah, I like this movie overall. Let's give it a rating, and we'll get into the guitar, and we'll have some fun with that soon. But yeah, Rocky Balboa, what should I give it? I think I'm going to give it a 7.8. It's not as good as some of the other installments in the franchise, but it's still really fun, and it's sort of getting back to form. It's better than the fifth one. It's even better than the fourth one, in my opinion. If I were to rank all the Rockies right now, I would put I'm talking worst to best. Worst being the fifth one, then the next would be the fourth, and then I would probably put this one, and then I'd probably put 1, and then 2, and then 3 is actually my favorite. For a little bit, each one was getting better. The first one is good, but then I liked the second one even better, and I liked the third one even better, but then the fourth one sort of fell off, and the fifth one went worse. But this one came back a little bit back to form. So I like this movie. Like I said, it's super unrealistic, but they do a good job of just making it believable enough that Rocky's able to do something in this fight. Rocky Balboa, 7.8 out of 10 Dougs. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out, at least for me in Canada. 7.8 out of 10 Dougs for Rocky Balboa.